Imagine you are 6 years old, sitting on a hot vinyl bench seat in the front of your dad's car. There's no seatbelt, no booster seat, and absolutely no safety sensors. Your dad pulls you onto his lap, and suddenly, your small hands are gripping a massive steering wheel, guiding 2 tons of steel down the highway. Today, this is a headline for child endangerment. For you, it was a Saturday morning. Why does your generation see the world so differently? Why do you feel like an alien in a world obsessed with safety apps and trigger warnings? This video is for Generation X, the bridge between the analog past and the digital future. We are going to dive into the specific memories, the scars, and the technical taps that built your unique psychology. You'll understand why your do-it-yourself attitude isn't just a habit, but a survival mechanism that is slowly becoming extinct in the modern world. Your kingdom was the vacant lot behind the shops or the woods at the end of the street. You didn't have play dates or supervised sports. You had scrap plywood, discarded carpet remnants, and milk crates borrowed from the grocery store. You built forts without instructions. You learned the sting of a splinter and the exact way to pull a rusty nail out of a 2x4 with the back of a hammer. You walked home with dirt under your fingernails and pride in your chest. More importantly, you learned how to settle an argument without a parent. If you couldn't negotiate who got the best seat in the fort, the game ended. You learned to compromise, or you learned to be alone. Your bike was your escape pod. It roared because you clipped playing cards to the spokes with clothespins. You knew every shortcut and every jump made from a brick and a piece of wood. And when you inevitably went over the handlebars and hit the pavement hard, you didn't get a lawsuit or a specialized trauma counselor. You limped home with gravel in your palms, and your mom simply said, "You're fine. Go wash it off and get back outside." You wore that scab like a medal for 2 weeks. This created an anti-fragility that is disappearing today. You learned early that being hurt and being damaged were 2 very different things, a distinction that the modern world often struggles to make. You grew up in an era where the things you owned weren't black boxes. You could see the gears and smell the grease. When your bike chain slipped, you flipped the bike upside down and fixed it yourself. By the age of 10, you weren't just a rider, you were a mechanic. This can-do mindset was the air you breathed. When the TV flickered or the VCR went fuzzy, you didn't call a help desk. You gave it a technical tap on the side. You wiggled the RCA cables until the picture snapped back into focus. You developed a deep, quiet certainty that if something was broken, it was your job to figure out why. You didn't feel helpless when the world didn't work perfectly. You just grabbed a screwdriver and some WD-40. Education for you was slow and final. You didn't have Google in your pocket, so your brain had to be the hard drive. You stood in front of wooden card catalogs in the library, hunting for information like a predator. Information had a physical cost. It took time, effort, and movement. Because you had to work for your knowledge, you owned it. When you wrote an essay with a number 2 pencil, there was no undo button. If you made a mistake, you dealt with the smudge and kept going. This built a focus muscle that allowed you to follow a single thread of logic for hours. You weren't trained to skim, you were trained for the deep dive. Many of you were latchkey kids, letting yourselves into empty houses with a key around your neck. Your afternoon wasn't managed like a corporate merger. It was yours to command. You had the gift of boredom, which is the birthplace of creativity. Your first job, whether it was a paper route at 5 a.m. or flipping burgers, was a raw introduction to adulthood. If you had a paper route, you had to knock on doors and look adults in the eye to collect the money they owed you. You learned how to handle rejection and how to be a local businessman before you were even out of middle school. You learned the value of $1 because you knew exactly how many floors you had to mop to earn it. Perhaps the greatest gift you had was the freedom to be messy in private. There were no social media stories documenting your mistakes for eternity. If you did something stupid in a parking lot at midnight, only the people who were there knew about it. You had the freedom to try on different versions of yourself without a digital audience judging your every move. Even your love letters were manual. You sat for hours making mixtapes, hitting play and record with surgical precision. It was a massive investment of time and vulnerability. Because it was hard to make, it meant everything. Every time you look at the world today and feel like you've landed on a different planet, remember this: you aren't outdated. You are carrying capabilities that are becoming extinct. While the world is obsessed with performing for an audience, you are busy actually living. You developed your sense of self in a neighborhood, not a newsfeed. You learned to trust your own gut because back then, you had to. You carry a rare kind of quiet strength that comes from figuring out who you were without constant input. You've had that internal compass since the day you first grabbed that steering wheel on your dad's lap, and you're still the one navigating the road. What was the one thing you did as a kid that would get your parents arrested today? Was it the wooden spoon, the bike jumps, or the 5 a.m. paper route? Tell us your Gen X survival stories in the comments.